Welcome to the channel. If you've ever held a Canadian penny and wondered, is this worth more than 1 cent? You're in the right place. In this video, we're diving into the fascinating world of Canada 1 cent coins, from their history and evolution to the most valuable Canadian pennies you should be looking for. We'll uncover which rare Canada pennies can sell for big money, how to spot valuable mint errors, and why certain dates, like 1920, 1936, 1955, and even some coins from the 1990s, are in high demand among collectors today. Whether you're a beginner in coin collecting or just curious about the value of old Canadian pennies, stick around. This one small coin has a big story, and you might just discover a hidden treasure in your pocket change. First up, the 1996 Canadian 1 cent coin. The 1996 1 cent coin from Canada is a small copper-plated coin that was produced by the Royal Canadian Mint. It features the classic maple leaf design on the reverse and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. This particular design had become iconic in Canada by the 1990s and was a symbol of the penny for many generations. The coin itself is made from 98% copper, with small amounts of zinc and tin, and it weighs 2.5 grams. The diameter is 19.05 millimeters, and the edge is plain. Now, when it comes to mintage, the numbers are quite large. In 1996, the Royal Canadian Mint produced over 673 million 1 cent coins. That makes this a high mintage year, and on the surface, it may seem like the coin is not rare. However, not all coins are equal. Condition, striking quality, and the presence of errors or varieties can dramatically change a coin's value. That's why even though the 1996 Canadian penny is common in circulation, certain examples can be worth significantly more than face value to collectors. Let's look at the design details. The reverse of the coin shows 2 maple leaves on a single twig. This design was created by G. Kruger Gray and has been a symbol of Canadian pride since it first appeared in 1937. The word Canada appears beneath the design, and the date, 1996, is stamped prominently. On the obverse of the coin is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, created by Dora de Pettery Hunt. This version of the Queen's effigy was used from 1990 through 2003 and shows her wearing a tiara, facing right. It also includes the inscription Elizabeth II Digi Regina, which stands for De Gratia Regina, or By the Grace of God, Queen. So what is the 1996 Canada 1 cent coin worth today? The truth is, most circulated examples are still only worth 1 cent, especially if they're worn, scratched, or discolored. However, uncirculated coins, especially those with original red luster and no visible wear, can sell for more. In mint state condition, these coins typically range in value from 10 cents to 50 cents. Proof-like or specimen examples, such as those pulled from Royal Canadian Mint sets, can fetch $1 or more if they're in pristine condition. Certified examples in high mint state grades can go even higher, especially if they're free of marks and discoloration. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors: errors and varieties. Error coins are produced when something goes wrong during the minting process, and these mistakes can make a coin significantly more valuable. With the 1996 Canadian penny, you should look out for off-center strikes, which occur when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned during striking. These can range in value depending on how far off-center the strike is, with more dramatic examples selling for $20 or more. Another important error to look for is the double die. This happens when the coin is struck twice with slightly misaligned dies, creating a doubling effect on parts of the design. If you notice doubling on the date, the letters in Canada, or around the Queen's features, it could be a valuable error coin. Double dies are not common, but they are highly sought after when they're visible without magnification. You should also check for clipped planchets, which are coins that were punched out from the edge of the metal strip, causing part of the coin to be missing. These are known as curved clips and can be worth $10 to $50 depending on the size and appearance. Die cracks, die chips, and cuds, where parts of the design are missing or raised due to damage on the die, are also errors that can add interest and value to a 1996 1 cent coin. If you think you found a 1996 penny with an error, you'll want to examine it under good lighting. Using a coin magnifier or loupe can help you see small details that might indicate a double die or die crack. Compare your coin to regular examples and see if there are any clear differences. If something looks off, such as the shape of the date, the spacing of the letters, or the alignment of the design, it's worth doing more research or even getting a second opinion from a coin collector forum or community. It's also important to understand that many coins from this era were stored away in bulk, especially after Canada announced that it would discontinue the penny. This happened in 2012, which marked the end of over 150 years of Canadian 1-cent coins. Because of that, interest in pennies from the 1990s has been growing steadily. Even though 1996 is a common date, many collectors want to assemble full date runs from the 1990s or collect every example of the Queen Elizabeth II portrait series. That adds demand to coins that are in better condition, especially those that are red in color and free from tarnish or wear. Over time, fewer high-quality examples of common coins like the 1996 Canadian penny will remain in existence. Circulation naturally wears them down, and many get damaged, lost, or even melted. That's why coins in top condition become more desirable as the years go by. If you have a 1996 penny that looks unusually bright, red, and clean, it might be worth holding on to or even sending in for grading if you think it's flawless. Let's also take a moment to talk about the sentimental and historic value of this coin. For many people, the Canadian penny was a part of everyday life, used in candy stores, vending machines, and school fundraisers. The 1996 1-cent coin holds a place in that legacy. It came at a time when Canada was starting to debate whether the penny was still necessary. Production costs were increasing, and the coin's purchasing power had dropped significantly. Still, it remained a familiar part of Canadian culture until its final issue in 2012. If you're building a collection of Canadian 1-cent coins, the 1996 penny is a key part of any modern set. It's also a great place for beginners to start, since it's inexpensive and easy to find. You can look for better examples, study the minting details, and use it to learn how to spot errors. It's one of those coins that seems ordinary until you take a closer look. And once you do, you start to understand how every detail matters in the world of coin collecting. So, whether you've just found a 1996 Canadian penny and you're wondering if it's rare, or you're a dedicated collector looking to upgrade your collection, this coin has plenty to offer. While most are only worth a cent, the possibilities of errors, high-grade examples, and future collector demand make it a coin worth knowing about. It may not be the rarest, but it has a place in the broader story of Canadian coinage and is a great learning tool for anyone interested in numismatics. The 2003 1-cent coin from Canada might appear to be an ordinary penny at first glance, but it's actually quite a special piece in the timeline of Canadian currency. This coin comes from a unique year in Canadian numismatics, one of transition, with interesting variations that make it a popular item for both beginner and experienced collectors. The reverse of the 2003 Canadian penny features the iconic maple leaf twig, a classic symbol of Canada. Designed by G. Kruger Gray, this artwork has been part of Canada's 1-cent coins for many decades. On the 2003 coin, the two maple leaves rest on a single twig, with the word Canada placed just beneath them, and the date 2003 clearly shown. It's a familiar design that has represented the Canadian 1-cent for generations. But it's the obverse, the front of the coin, where things really get interesting. In 2003, the Royal Canadian Mint made a change to the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. As a result, this single year includes two different versions of the Queen's image. One version shows the Queen wearing a crown, a design by Dora de Pettery Hunt that had been in use since 1990. The other version shows the Queen without a crown, a more modern and natural portrayal by Susanna Blunt. This uncrowned portrait was introduced as a fresh update to the Queen's appearance, meant to reflect her maturity and dignity in a simpler way. This change happened during the same year, so both versions were minted in 2003. That means there are two regular issue 2003 Canadian pennies, one with the tiara portrait and one with the uncrowned portrait. Although both are considered standard coins, many collectors see this as a must-have pair because it marks a rare transition in Canadian coinage history. If you're building a complete collection of Canadian 1-cent coins, you'll want both portrait types to make your set more complete. As for the materials and specifications, the 2003 Canadian penny is made of copper-plated zinc. This composition gives the coin its reddish-brown appearance, which can remain vibrant if the coin has been well preserved. It weighs 2.35 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, with a plain edge. These are standard dimensions for 1-cent coins from this period, and they make the coin easy to identify if you're sorting through a jar of old change. In terms of production, over 1,002,003 1-cent coins were struck for circulation. This makes it a very common coin by mintage standards, but the interesting thing is that most people don't realize the year included 2 different obverse designs. That fact alone has kept interest in the 2003 penny alive among collectors for years. Even though this coin is widely available, certain types of 2003 pennies have features that make them more sought after. For example, coin enthusiasts often look for minting errors. One such error type is the die clash, which can result in ghost-like images appearing faintly on one side of the coin due to a mechanical misstep in the minting process. These clashes can leave part of the queen's portrait faintly visible behind the maple leaves, or vice versa. These kinds of oddities are often collected for their uniqueness and for how they reveal the inner workings of coin production. Another type of error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, and part of the design ends up shifted or missing. Sometimes the date is only partially visible, or part of the maple leaf design is off to one side. These off-center strikes are relatively easy to spot and are often considered attractive by collectors of error coins. You may also come across coins with doubling. This is called a double die error and can happen when the coin's design is stamped twice with slight misalignment. It can make the date, the word Canada, or other lettering appear slightly blurry or thick in certain areas. Doubling can be difficult to detect without magnification, but once you see it, you'll notice it right away. Other small varieties include die chips and cracks. These are extra bits of metal or raised bumps that appear due to wear and damage on the minting die. One example is a small blob of metal near the tip of a maple leaf or a raised line near the edge of the coin. While these errors are usually minor, some collectors enjoy searching for them and adding them to variety collections. Another thing to be aware of is the clipped planchet error, which is when a coin appears to be missing a section around the edge due to a faulty blank. These clips often result in curved indentations and are immediately noticeable. They are prized for their visual appeal and rarity. For collectors who love assembling full sets, the 2 obverse versions of the 2003 Canadian penny are both essential. The tiara version reflects the closing of one era, while the uncrowned version begins a new chapter in Canadian coin design. It's rare to have both appear in the same year, and this makes the 2003 penny stand out among early 21st century coins. Because Canada stopped producing the 1-cent coin after 2012, the years leading up to that moment have gained increased attention. Many collectors are going back to assemble full runs from earlier decades. The 2003 penny often gets special attention due to its transitional portrait year. People who once saw pennies as nothing more than spare change are now looking through their old jars and drawers to find examples of this interesting year. What makes coin collecting so fascinating is how even the smallest changes, like the design of a portrait or a small minting error, can turn a common coin into a conversation piece. And when you think about the number of people who handled each coin, the number of hands it passed through, and the history it represents, every 1-cent coin tells a story. For those who enjoy collecting coins casually or seriously, the 2003 Canadian penny is a fun piece to research and collect. Whether you're sorting through your pocket change or browsing through a coin album, it's always satisfying to find a coin that connects to a specific moment in Canadian history. And because the 2003 penny has 2 standard versions, it gives collectors a small but important goal to work toward: finding both versions and comparing them side by side. Over time, more people are discovering the joy of searching for coins with a story. The 2003 penny story is about change, not just the change in your pocket, but the changing image of a queen, the changing methods of minting, and the changing value we place on everyday objects. And as more collectors focus on Canadian cents, coins like the 2003 penny will continue to gain recognition. Thanks for listening and being part of today's exploration of the 1996 and 2003 Canada 1-cent coins. If you enjoy learning about coins and the history behind them, don't forget to follow the channel. Share this with others who love Canadian coins, and keep an eye on your own change. You never know what interesting piece of history might be hiding in plain sight. Until next time, keep looking, keep learning, and happy collecting.